I love it.
Yeah,
it's a really cool experience.
You're an encourager. You're a supporter.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna make sure that what she wants is what she gets, and that's the man's role. Go out, hunt, and bring it back.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So
that's the what would you say, the gender role, which is something for sure that
that's not just a gender role. That's our primal from all of human history.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't lessen the actuality by the term I'm using. But I agree with you. It's something that I would actually think today's society, this might get political, but today's society has lost a little bit, is the value in some of the roles that we have.
Sure.
Right, that have really gotten us. I mean, look at the world we're in today compared to 100 years ago, and even 1,000 years ago, and the things that we had to sort out as human beings to be able to fairly distribute responsibility and what made sense. And we've gotten to a point where I think we're so everything is so, there's a luxury in the easiness of life. I mean, there's still struggles, right? But we're able to, for example, wake up, drive an hour to get to Blacksburg, go to 2 different restaurants to get food, and then that we pay pretty reasonable prices for, and then to come in here and have the technology and the reach to have a conversation. It's like, man, yeah, I completely understand why we've lost sight of some of the things that got us here, especially for the people, even my age. I'm only 31, and there's people in their early 20s that just never knew any different. They woke up, 13 years old, had a smartphone in their hand. So as far as they're concerned, that's just life, but it wasn't always that way. And I think a lot of people kind of lose that perspective, that it's like, things could be a whole lot worse. I think there's a lot of naivety to our culture with how bad things can get, and then how they get there too.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And, these people that are talking about how men need to be strong and they need to be mentally capable, and they need to be, they need to be successful. They need to go and achieve things to provide value, because these soft men ruin total societies. Soft men are the worst thing going right now. I mean, really, you got to have strong men in your culture, or your culture crumbles.
Yeah.
That's a fact. You know,
it is.
So you need warriors in the gardens instead of just gardeners in the war.
Yeah.
So we don't want no gardeners in the war.
Something that I think to add to this, I think soft men are actually have a lot of potential to do harm. Like, so to me, soft men doesn't mean like a house cat, right? Yeah. I think soft men are people who have skills that are kind of hidden, that they use with or without their own knowledge of that they're doing it, to extract expediency from environments for their own benefit, and at the cost of others. Usually, it's kind of gross when you think about it.
I mean, the weak men are the ones killing people, mass shooters. All these people, all these men that are going out and causing harm to people are the men that can't figure life out.
And I would say even on a smaller scale, and I think this is, funny enough, I would say this is more detrimental in society than even, and this might be a hot take, but mass shootings obviously are a massive tragedy, and that goes without saying. Yeah. But I think there is another problem in society that isn't being talked about, which is the larger quantity, lesser intensity, daily life things. So like a mass shooting, obviously the lives that are lost, I can't say that enough.
Yeah.
But the lives that are lost, the value that's lost, and not just the lives that are lost, but the quality of life that is lost due to people being weasels, and it goes bad both ways. It doesn't, as far as I can tell, and I mean, maybe the reason I recognize this to a certain extent is I used to be one of those guys. I used to be somebody for reasons outside of my control. I grew up without a strong male figure in my life. My stepfather, who was a good stepfather through my childhood, was diagnosed with dementia when I was 13. So by the time it was really time to teach me some lessons about being a man,
and discipline you,
and discipline me, and make sure I got my being the male role model, I was missing it.
Yeah,
so
he wasn't capable.
No, and not to his fault, obviously.
Right, of course.
So I grew up being that soft, weak core. You know, I lacked the core of who I was from being a man.
To have a moral stand and being disciplined in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening to me was I ended up being a weasel. And, you know, and for anybody out there who maybe has the suspicion or the inkling in their mind that they may be too, maybe this is an inspiration, because it doesn't always have to be that way. All it takes is the mindset that you talked about earlier, which is I am no excuses. Yeah. I'm taking responsibility. It's on me.
Wins on me, losses on me.
Yeah.
Nobody's at fault but me.
The direction of my ship is steered by me. I'm at the wheel. Yeah. Right. And my mindset is going to drive me where I am. Yeah, it might take some time. You know, there's the randomness of life. I mean, this is another poker analogy. You know, if you grind and you continue to grind with the right mindset, you start to make money.
Bro, everybody overestimates what they're going to do in a year, and everybody underestimates what they'll do in 5. So you're always going to be too ambitious short term, and you're always going to be little short of your ambition opportunity long term.
Yeah, that's fair. So anyways, my growing up, I got to that point, and I realized the effect I was having on other people at some point. I also realized the effect of the environments I was putting myself in. And to give an example of something kind of weaselly, right? Just in case people don't really understand what I'm saying when I use that language. Yeah. For example, I lived with some people my sophomore year of college. I lived with 3 friends, and I don't know why this example sticks out to me. This is a really vivid memory of mine, and maybe this was actually a pivotal point for me to start thinking about stuff like this. We had a couple friends that were going across town, across the bridge in Rafford to Fairlawn, and they were like, "You want to go?" I was like, "Sure." In the back of my mind, I had this thought that I was hungry, and I wanted some food. Excuse me. And I didn't tell anybody this. I just waited until we were close to where I wanted to say, "Hey, can we stop there while we're close?" And my friends called me out. They were like, "Man, like you're kind of making us look to be assholes in some sense of you put us in a position where we look bad if we say no, right?" So it's like, "Oh, okay, you know, weird. I didn't know that." And there are places in my life where I picked that up.
So it was a manipulation tactic to put them in a corner of feeling bad if they had to say no to you.
It was sneaky as hell, and I didn't like it. Once I realized what I was doing, you know, I made a conscious choice to say I could do better, you know, and there's value in doing better. And